Hey, welcome back, everybody. 2026, the first episode of the year. In this Bible breakdown, we're going to be looking at three verses you are probably using incorrectly, or you know somebody is using incorrectly. The first verse is the superpower verse, Philippians 4:13. It says, "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." A lot of people treat this verse like a magical item that can be applied to every aspect of their life, or they can do anything they put their mind to. If I pray this verse, I'm going to win the game, I'll get a promotion, I'll succeed at whatever I want to do. But context is everything. When Paul wrote this verse, he wasn't winning a championship. He was sitting in a Roman prison. In verse 12, it says, "I know how to be humbled, and I know how to abound. In everything and in all things, I have learned the secret both to be filled and to be hungry, both to abound and to be in need." You see, the strength Paul is talking about isn't the power to win. It's the supernatural strength to be content even when you are losing. It means Christ is enough even if you never win a trophy. The second verse is what I call the American Dream verse. It is probably the most famous graduation verse of all time. Jeremiah 29:11, it says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for prosperity and not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope." Now we see these stickers on people's Bible covers, on their mugs, on their water bottles, and people assume this is a promise from God that He is about to give us our dream life right now. But when we look at who God was talking to, He wasn't talking to us right now where we are. He was talking to a specific group of Israelites who had just been conquered and dragged off to Babylon. And we see this in Jeremiah 29:4, where it says, "This is what the Lord of armies, the God of Israel, says to all the exiles whom I have sent into exile from Jerusalem to Babylon." In fact, the verses right before this, God tells them to build houses and plant gardens because they're going to be stuck there for 70 years. Jeremiah 29:5-6 says, "Build houses and live in them, plant gardens and eat their fruit, take wives and father sons and daughters, multiply there and do not be diminished." You see, most of the people who heard these words died in captivity. The promise wasn't for instant relief. It was for future restoration of His people. It teaches us to trust God's long-term plan, even when our short-term reality is painful. And finally, one of my favorites, the "don't judge me" verse. This comes from Matthew 7:1, where Jesus said, "Judge not, that you be not judged." People use this verse to shut down any moral criticism. If you call something a sin, they say, "Hey, the Bible says you can't judge me." But Jesus wasn't forbidding discernment. He was forbidding hypocrisy. He talks about removing the plank from your own eye so that you can clearly see to remove the speck from your brother's eye. And we see this in chapter 7, verses 3-5. Why do you see the speck that's in your brother's eye, but don't consider the beam that's in your own eye? First, remove the beam out of your own eye, and then you can clearly see to remove the speck out of your brother's eye. See, Jesus actually commands us to make judgments about fruit and false prophets later in the same chapter. The point isn't blind acceptance. The point is fix yourself first so that you can actually help somebody else with humility. We see this in verses 15 and 16, where Jesus says to beware false prophets, and by their fruit we will know them. You see, proper context when it comes to the Bible changes everything. What other verses do you think that are misused? Let me know in the comments.